Now, having learned a bit about fusion and why fusion is nuclear, now let's consider the specifics of the nuclear industry. Why is it different to other industries? When talking about industry, we have to remember that industrial activities always bear some risks. When we talk about the risks of industrial activities, we mean that there is always a certain probability that conditions or events may show up which lead to accidents. Of course, these conditions or events are almost always unintended, but the resulting accidents may injure people or damage the environment. As an extreme example, this photo shows the explosion of a chemical plant in Nevada, USA in 1986. We know that no industry is immune from accidents, and the effects are, of course, very different, but in general, all industries learn from them. Let's take an example, namely the civil aviation. Here, accidents happen every year, and each one is meticulously analysed. As a result, the lessons learned from the experience of nearly 1 century of flight mean that today, reputable airlines are extremely safe. And in other industries, like the chemical industry or the oil and gas industry, major accidents have led to improved safety in their plants today. So now let's focus on nuclear. In connection with nuclear, we mainly talk about energy production. Here you see a photo of the Belgian nuclear power plant in Tihange. Or in connection with nuclear, we also talk about medical applications, for example, X-raying people, either for imaging or for therapy in the case of cancer. In the case of energy production, the world's most concentrated energy source, contained in uranium, is used to produce electrical energy through the fission of uranium nucleus. However, part of the energy is released and transmitted as radiation. The photo shows an example where the radiation leads to the bluish glow of the water in a fuel pool. What's important for us is that this radiation can also interact with the human body. When encountering human tissue, it may produce ions. This so-called ionization is an effect in which radiation may kick out an electron from the outer shell of an atom so that the atom becomes positively charged. That's to say, it becomes an ion. That's why the radiation is called ionizing radiation. An important feature of ionizing radiation is that it cannot be directly observed by people. This means you can't hear it, see it, or feel it directly, only detect it with special instruments. The effect on the human body is that ionizing radiation may damage cells. However, the body itself nearly always repairs damaged cells properly. The eventual effect on the health of people will depend, of course, on the amount of energy transmitted by the ionizing radiation. However, if people are properly protected, this energy is low, so it may not lead to any observable health effect. For example, you may remember the protective measures used when you've been X-rayed for medical diagnoses. We can conclude that when nuclear energy is applied in industrial activities, appropriate measures must be undertaken to limit the exposure of workers, people, and the environment to ionizing radiation. During the later stages of ITER operation, nuclear energy will be released, so it will be necessary here too to undertake appropriate measures to limit the exposure to ionizing radiation. Therefore, in ITER, suitable safety equipment must be installed to perform important safety functions during the nuclear operation of ITER. Although the nuclear operation of ITER will be started only far in the future, it's very important for you to realise that even now, the basis for the safety equipment and the related safety functions must be laid already. At present in ITER, the safety equipment will be manufactured, constructed and assembled. And these activities are mainly those that you are engaged in. So already, with your current activities, you will influence considerably whether the ITER safety functions will be available with no interruptions during its nuclear operation. Thank you for your attention.